Hi everybody, my name is Arthur and welcome to another PixelPAD tutorial. We are coding our Clash Royale light game, and last video we added the life bars to the unit and to the enemy unit, and we now can see them battling each other, right, which is pretty cool. But what we want to do today is to add mana to our game, or elixir, right, how they would call it in Clash Royale. But in our game, I'll call it mana. So mana is gonna be what I need to use to spawn my unit. So each card is gonna cost some mana, right? And then I need to have that amount of mana to spawn my unit. Okay, so if I'm gonna create a mana, this mana is gonna be a mana of my game, right? It's not the castle's mana, it's not the background's mana, it's not the pointer's mana, it's my game's mana. So I'm going to go inside my game on the Start tab here. And down here, I will add it before the bad timer. But we can do after as well, doesn't really matter. I will add here a variable to store how much mana I have now. So I can say that game.mana is equals. So I'm going to say that I start with 0 mana. And I will also have another variable to control how much mana can I get, like maximum, right? So I can say here game.max mana. So the maximum mana that I can have is gonna be 20. So that's for my game. You can choose the values by yourself, of course. But for my game, I will start with 0 mana and I can have maximum 20 mana. And I will also need a variable to count the time for me to get new mana. For example, will I get a new mana every 1 second, every half a second, every 2 seconds? So we need a timer to keep counting that, right? So I'm gonna create here a game.mana timer, and I'm gonna say that my mana timer is 60. So I have the mana of my game, I have the maximum mana of my game, and I have the timer of my mana inside the game as well, right? So the time to get more mana is 1 second, right? 60 is equals 1 second, if you remember from when we did this bad timer, right? So every 1 second I'll get more mana. So let's start using this mana timer now, because so far nothing's happening in our game. We're not doing anything with this mana, this maximum mana, or this mana timer, right? So I'm gonna go to the loop tab here. And in the loop tab, I have to do something very similar to this mana timer. Something very similar that I did with the bad timer, because this is also a timer. And the timer here keeps going down, right? And I will have to do the same thing for my mana timer. So I have here the bad timer. And if the bad timer is less or equal than 0, I spawn a new bat. And after this code here, I will do the same for my mana timer. So game.mana timer is gonna be game.mana timer minus 1. So I keep reducing my mana timer, right? And whenever, so if my game.mana timer is less or equal than 0, so whenever my mana timer reaches 0, that means 1 second has passed, and that also means that I can increase my game.mana, right? So game.mana equals game.mana plus 1. So whatever my mana was before, now it will be my mana plus 1. So if it was 0, now it will be 1. If it was 1, now it will be 2, right? And I also have to reset the mana timer to count 1 more second to give me more mana. So game.mana timer is equals 60 again. So 1 more second for me to get more mana, right? And just so we know if it's working or not, I'm gonna print every time I get a new mana, I'm gonna print my game.mana. So every time I get more mana, I will reset the timer and I will print my mana. So we should be able to see our mana increasing right there. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So I get 1 mana per second, right? But there is a problem that you see soon. It's because whenever we get to the maximum amount of mana we can have, it doesn't stop there. it just keeps going. So it should stop on 20, but then it goes 21, 22, 23, right? So I want to stop that from happening. And I just have to add a restriction here. I will only increase my mana if my mana is less than my maximum mana, right? So here, if my mana timer is less or equal than 0, and then I check again if my game dot mana is smaller than my game dot max mana, then so I want to do these two things here, that is to increase my mana and reset my timer if my mana is less than my maximum mana, right? Because if it's equals or more than my maximum mana, I cannot have more than my maximum mana, right? That's the maximum. So I should never go beyond that. So I will only do these two things here whenever my game mana is smaller than my maximum mana. So I need to indent these two lines again. So I just add some more spacing here before the lines. And I'll also print my game mana only when I increase my mana. So now let's see if it works. I press play. And let's see it going up again. And it should get until 20 and stop there. Let's see if that works. So we have 10, 11, 12, and our card's still not spending any mana, right? We have to code that, yeah. So 17, 18, 19, 20, and then it stops there. It stops there forever. Forever, no, I mean forever just for now, because we're not spending mana yet, but once we spend the mana, then our mana will start counting again. Cool. So we'll stop here. I will save my game. And now we have to make our card to spend some mana. So I'm gonna go here on my card, and my card is empty for now. But what I want to add here on my card is every card is gonna have a mana cost, right? It will cost certain amount of mana to be created, to be spawned, that troop. But actually, if we have 3 cards, each card will have a different mana cost, right? So I will not add this mana cost here on the Star tab. I'm gonna go to my game and I will assign the mana cost to my ghost card only. So my ghost card is a card. My ghost card has a sprite. My ghost card is on this position. And my ghost card dot mana cost. So my ghost card now has a mana cost that is equals to, so I'm gonna say 2. So it will cost 2 mana to spawn my ghost, right? But it's not working yet. I don't have mana. I can still spawn many units because we haven't coded that yet. So now what I want to do is I only want to spawn units whenever I click on my card and I have enough mana to spend. So I will stop my game here. I will go inside my pointer now, because my pointer controls the click for us. And here we have if my mouse on the left button was pressed, and if I get a collision between the pointer and the card, and I want to add another if here, if the well, so now we need to get the exact card that we have clicked actually. So before this if, I need to know which card I'm clicking on, because if we have 5 cards, each card will have a different mana cost, right? So I need to know the exact card that I have clicked on. So I will get this get collision code here to get the card that I'm clicking on, and I'm gonna store it inside card. So card is gonna be the result of the collision, so get collision between myself and the card that is colliding with us, card. So check if I'm pressing the left button, check if I'm colliding with a card, get this exact card that I'm colliding with, and then now I check, oh, this should be indented, and now I check if my game dot mana, so if my mana is greater or equal So greater or equal, right? So if I have 2 mana and my card costs 2 mana, that's fine. I can still spawn my card, right? So that's why greater or equal. So if my mana is greater or equal than my card dot mana cost, then I can do all these other lines, right? That is to spawn the unit. So I will indent all those lines. Okay, so if I have pressed the left button, I check if I have collided with a card. If so, I get this card that has collided with me, and then I check again if my mana is greater or equal than the card's mana cost. If so, then I spawn the card. Okay, let's see if that's working. So I should not be able to create my card once I start my game because I still have 0 mana. I should be able to create my card only when I have 2 or more mana, because that's my mana cost for the card, right? For the ghost card. So I press play, I'm trying to spawn my card, it doesn't work. Once I get 2 mana, then I can spawn my card. But what is missing now is because my card is not spending mana. And to spend mana, it's pretty simple. If I have enough mana to spawn my card, I spawn my card, and after I want to take my mana out of me, right? So I can say game.mana is now gonna be game.mana minus the card's mana cost, right? So if I have mana to spawn this card, I spawn the card, and then I reduce my mana. I take my mana cost from my mana. And now it should be working already. I press play. I cannot spawn my card. Whenever I have 2, I spawn my card, and I cannot spawn anymore because I just spent the mana, right? But one thing that I want to add here is one extra line here at the end. Once we spend the mana to spawn this card, I wanted to print the mana cost again. Not the mana cost, but the game mana. So whenever I spend the mana to spawn the card, I should print my mana again. So 1, 2, 3, I spend, and then it went back to 1. And then I keep receiving more mana. I spend twice, 3 times, it went back to 1, 2, 3. So now we have mana work in our game. And your game now might seem way harder than before because you cannot just create many units as you could before, right? But that's when the balancing comes, and we have to now play around with values and see what values are better to make the game more balanced and more fair, right, for who's playing. But that's what we have for today. Press save in your game, and we will keep going on the next video. So see you in the next video. Bye.